I had a long gun out, and then when I realized it was going to be the three of us, I transitioned, put it up, and went to my handgun, and I had my Glock. So, because I didn't want a long gun swinging if we had to go hands-on with three of us. So I transitioned. And so my first round goes into the door, stops in the door frame. He comes out on 2 feet. He's still firing. I get 2 more rounds off, strike him center mass. One lodges in his spinal cord, actually. I found out later. But I didn't even know I hit him at the time because it's like he didn't even feel it. He just kept pumping rounds at me.
And what was his charge? Like, what was he accused of?
He was charged with attempted homicide on his brother.
Oh, wow.
He tried to shoot his brother in Pennsylvania. And I think like his cousin or nephew or something too. So we're pumping rounds at each other. I don't know how many he got off on me. He landed 6. So, and I'll get into all the rounds in a little bit, but I had one go through my left hand. I had one ricochet off my plate carrier, landed in my face, and I had a third shatter my femur, just fucking split it right in half, and it dropped me behind his car at the quarter panel. So I lose my gun. My gun rolls underneath his car, right behind his rear driver's side tire. And I try to grab it, and I can't because this hand doesn't work because I got a round through it, and my right hand doesn't work because I just crushed it with all my fucking weight when I fell, and nothing works. It's completely shattered.
So both your hands are broken?
Both my hands are fucking out of commission. They're both broken, yeah. Wrists are fractured, fingers are broken, everything's shattered. And now I'm in a spot where I can't see anything. All I can hear is the gunfire going off. And I know if he takes like 2 or 3 fucking steps, he's just going to plug one in my fucking head and move on, right?
What are the other guys doing at this point?
So George is on the passenger side, and Josh is kind of like behind my car a little bit because he couldn't get in there. And I'll get into their situation in a minute. So I'm on the ground. I'm still hearing gunfire going off, but I don't know if he's directing it at me, if he's directing it at them, or what. I don't know what the hell's going on. And I instantly go into like just a lot of thoughts, like in the split seconds, you think about a lot of shit. And I'm thinking about life, and I'm thinking about death, and I'm thinking about my wife. I'm thinking about my son. And then this fucking voice comes in my head, man. And I used to chalk it up to like that voice that we all have, like, I can't do that, it's too hard, or, I can't do this, or whatever. That negative voice that we all carry around sometimes. But it was much more than that. It was just screaming at me. Screaming at me, man. Just saying, you failed. You fucking failed. And they're going to pay for it. And when it's saying this, I could just see my wife and I could see my son. And they were just like sitting there looking at me, smiling, like, and waving at me like it's time to come home. And that was a hard fucking moment, dude. That was a hard moment. That voice, it went on to haunt me for a long time, and I ended up working through that. But in that moment, it kind of played a big role in fucking saving me. Because it was that voice telling me that you failed that made me be like, I can't fucking die here, man. Like, I gotta get home. So I just started crawling with my elbows and pushing with my left leg, and I jammed myself underneath his car as far as I could to try to protect my vitals, because I thought he's going to come back here and pump rounds into me, and my hope is he just fills my legs up, sticking out from the car maybe, and I don't fucking bleed out, if I'm not bleeding out already. So as that's happening, George is on the passenger side, and the girlfriend's in the front passenger seat, ducked down in the floorboard. So he sees an opening for a shot through the windows, and he takes it. So it goes through both panes of glass, driver's side and passenger side door, strikes the guy in the side, and then he takes off on foot, runs by me when I'm under the car. As he gets past me behind his car, he turns to the right. Josh is there. He turns and starts cranking rounds at Josh, works his way through the parking lot, and now Josh and George, they dress each other up on the line like they're at the fucking range, and they start moving towards a threat in the parking lot. And I think he went down with like, give or take, around 10 rounds. Before he went down in the middle of a reload. So he goes down the parking lot about 75 yards. And George stays with shithead there in the parking lot as he fucking dies. Josh comes back to me, pulls me out from under the car, throws tourniquet on, and throws me in the back of his car and takes me to the hospital. And in our pre-op, in our plan, we always have the designated, medevac. Josh was designated medevac. We always have the nearest hospital programmed in all of our phones. So when you get in, you just hit fucking go. We did all that. But of course, when we pull out of the parking lot, he makes that right-hand turn, and the phone fucking falls off the dash and rolls underneath the fucking seat. So he lost the directions because he wasn't from the area. But luckily, I was still with it. I was still conscious, alert, and breathing. So as I'm in the back seat on my back, I can see out the window. I can see all the billboards, like restaurants and shit that I know. So I get him corrected direction because we're heading south. We need to go north. So he makes it a couple traffic lights before I picked it up. Excuse me. He makes a U-turn and heading north. And now we're communicating with one another. He's on the radio, putting it out like, hey, this is what's going on. I need to know where the fucking hospital is. So get some units out to the highway to direct me. And I remember we were communicating the whole time, and I was spitting fucking blood everywhere. My legs bleeding everywhere. And I remember in the back seat apologizing to him. And he's like, it's all right, man. You're going to make it. Like, you don't have to apologize for anything. It's all good. And I was like, yeah, I know, man, but I'm fucking spitting blood all over your fucking car back here. And I know how much you love it. He had just the marshals had just bought this fucking Jeep for him. Cherokee. It was brand new, man. Fucking leather, blacked out. It was fucking awesome ride. And he was really protective of it. And I was just fucking spitting DNA all over this motherfucker, man. So, but, you're delirious and you're fucking in shock, but you're also like, I'm with it enough to know, like, we got to communicate. And that's what I was doing because I'm a smart ass anyway. And so we're communicating on the way to the hospital. He's got everything good to go on the radio now. He's good. And I did the same thing that I did when I was on the ground. Like, I had to look for work. I can't just lay there and fucking die. So I started running myself through a checklist. First I needed to calm down and realize what the fuck was happening. So I did that. Then I went to assess my wounds, but I couldn't because my hands didn't work. I couldn't fix my tourniquet, couldn't take my vest off, I couldn't check for anything else. It was kind of fucked there. But I knew I was losing a lot of blood. So I started working on combat breathing, slow in, slow out, which for me, it was just common sense for me, and it was just something I did regularly because I was a runner. I did Ironmans. I worked out all the time, CrossFit. So working on breathing is something I did regularly. So I went into some breathing patterns to slow that down, slow that blood loss, and got that under control. And I just kept thinking, what's next on the checklist? All right, they're going to get me in the hospital, and they're going to knock me out. Boom, got that. But I wanted to think further ahead. So I knew when I got to the hospital, they're going to fucking put me under because I'm in bad shape. They're not going to keep me awake. It's obvious, right? But I didn't want to wake up at whenever I woke up and be surprised that maybe I lost this leg because I knew it was bad. It was when I was on the ground crawling, it was at a 90 degree. I could high five my foot. And like as I crawled, I remember watching it get like further and further away. So I knew it was bad. So I convinced myself that the leg was gone. Like they were just going to take it. And I was like, fine, whatever. I'll, amputee. It's not that bad. Everybody does it. People do it every day and have great fucking lives. And I can do the same thing. Right. So I wanted to wake up and be surprised that it was still there. So they get to the hospital, get there, they pull me out, start ripping everything off, and they put me under at some point. I don't remember when. Last thing I remember is them taking my vest off.
How long of a time was it from when you got shot until you were actually at the hospital, do you know?
So from the first shot that rang out to the time we were out of the parking lot was probably somewhere around like 40 to 50 seconds.
Yeah.
It was pretty quick. And then to the hospital, it took us like 8.5 minutes, something like that. Between 8 and 9 minutes. They said they said that if I would have waited for the ambulance, then I probably wouldn't have made it.
Wow.
So Josh, you made the right call.
Was the tourniquet just not doing
So
the job? Or?
the entry wound was just below my hip, so he couldn't get it above it. He can only get the tourniquet on it, which wouldn't completely stop it. But it didn't hit the femoral. So I wasn't losing a ton of blood externally, but I was bleeding out a lot inside.
Oh, okay.
From my leg was so big, my pants were ripping.
Oh, wow.
It was just swollen up from bleeding out within there.